Mated to the Lycan King. Chapter 14. Soft dawn light spilled across the canopied bed, washing the silk coverlet in shades of peach and gold. Raven opened her eyes to the muted coo of doves on the windowsill, then to Lyanna's faint, seeking whimper. Before she could shift, Lucian was already sitting up, scooping the infant with practiced care. "Good morning, little flame," he whispered, kissing the tiny brow. Lyanna stilled, blinking hazy gray-gold eyes, Lucian's eyes, before rooting for breakfast. Raven smiled, heart swelling at the ease in her mate's motions. "I can take her," she offered, pushing herself onto an elbow. Lucian shook his head, playful sternness in the arch of his brow. "My turn. You fed them half the night." Raven eased back, watching him cradle Lyanna close as he slid from the bed. Leora slumbered between the pillows, lips pursed in a silent dream. Raven brushed a stray curl from the infant's cheek, caught suddenly by gratitude so fierce it left her breathless. 2 moons ago she'd bled in battle. Today her daughters suckled peacefully in sun-drenched sheets. Lucian returned with Lyanna, wrapped against his bare chest, tugging on soft trousers one-handed. He helped Raven sit, arranging pillows behind her. "Tea?" She nodded. Whenever he left the room, Raven's gaze lingered on the doorway, still marveling that this towering king brewed tea with his own hands. In those quiet minutes, she let memories flicker. Forests damp with danger, nights tracking rogue claws, every hardship shaping her into the woman whose mate now hummed lullabies in the next room. Lucian re-entered balancing a tray, steaming jasmine tea, honeyed oats, slices of pear. Lyanna rested on his shoulder, milk-dazed. "Your feast, my queen." "My king is spoiling me." Raven teased, but she accepted a cup, savoring the floral warmth. Lucian settled cross-legged, positioning Lyanna to nurse again. Raven leaned over, brushing her lips across his. "You've become an expert." "I learned from the best." He stroked Lyanna's hair, voice softening. "Look at her. 10 fingers of mischief." Raven laughed softly. Just like her father, they fell into easy conversation, plans for the day, a review of patrol reports, whispers of their hopes for the girl's first words. Between sips of tea, Raven let her thoughts wander to the strange stillness after storms. Peace blanketed the kingdom like fresh snow, yet she sensed faint tremors beneath. Change coming, carried on distant winds. When Lyanna dozed, Lucian transferred her to the cradle beside sleeping Leora. Raven slid from bed, wrapping herself in a gossamer robe. She padded to the balcony. Sunlight kissed her skin. Far below, courtyards stirred to life, guards changing watch, kitchen maids laughing over baskets of bread. Lucian joined her, arms coiling around her waist. Thoughts that deep need sharing. She leaned into his warmth. "I keep waiting for the world to tilt again. We'll steady it together." His lips grazed her temple. "Whatever comes." A knocking startled them. Ella's voice slipped through the door. "Raven, may I?" "Come," Raven called. Ella slipped inside, cheeks flushed, hands twined nervously. Lucian greeted her, then excused himself to dress the twins for the morning. Raven caught Ella's trembling fingers. "Tell me." Ella's eyes shone. "I haven't even told Kieran. I needed another mother's ear first." She inhaled, pressing Raven's hands to her belly. "I'm with child." Joy burst like sunlight in Raven's chest. "Ella, stars bless you." Tears gathered in Ella's lashes. "I'm thrilled but terrified. The kingdom just tasted peace. What if another war looms?" Raven squeezed her hands. "Then we fight for our children and we do it together." Ella's shoulders loosened, tears spilling. Raven pulled her into a hug, both laughing softly. "Kieran will rejoice," Raven said against Ella's hair. "I hope he doesn't faint." Ella sniffed. Lucian re-entered, cradling freshly swaddled twins. When Ella shared the news, His answering grin lit the room. Kieran will howl loud enough to wake neighboring packs. After Ella left, Raven kissed Lucian's cheek. Our family grows wider every sunrise. He brushed a thumb over her lip. And stronger. Mid-morning drums announced visitors. From the battlements, Raven watched banners unfurl, a silver hawk on midnight blue, the Crestfall pack. A column of mounted warriors approached in disciplined silence. At their head rode a lone figure in matte obsidian armor, helm tucked beneath her arm. Raven sensed steel beneath calm, a survivor's bearing. Lucian descended to the courtyard with Kieran, Darius, Thalos, and a small honor guard. Raven followed, twins safe with Ella. Dust curled as hooves halted. The delegation dismounted, greetings exchanged. Lucian clasped forearms with their alpha, Auric Crestfall, an aging but sharp-eyed leader. Auric gestured to the armored woman beside him. My first blade, Commander Serena Vale. Serena bowed, raven black braid falling over one shoulder. Eyes like storm glass assessed the courtyard. When they flicked to Darius, something flickered. Recognition or surprise. Darius felt it like an arrow, heat flaring across his chest. He inclined his head, suddenly aware of scars beneath his tunic. Raven stepped forward. Welcome, Commander. Your reputation precedes you. Serena's posture remained formal. High praise, Your Majesty. Her voice was low, edged with gravel that hinted at knights surviving harsher worlds. Lucian invited the delegation inside. As they crossed the great hall, Darius found his stride aligning with Serena's. I've heard tales of your sword work, he said. She did not glance at him. Tales exaggerate. I doubt it. His tone softened. Your presence honors us. Finally she looked, eyes cold, cautious. Flattery is cheap, General. He almost smiled. Darius, please. She gave the barest nod, then lengthened her stride, leaving him adrift in her wake. Later, in the council chamber, long tables bristled with maps. Lucian, Auric, Kieran, and Thalos discussed patrol routes and supply exchanges. Raven watched Darius from across the room. His focus wavered whenever Serena spoke, and Raven sensed tension beneath his stoic mask. When the council recessed for midday meal, Raven drew Darius aside beneath a colonnade. You're distracted, he exhaled. I'm fine. Darius. Her voice invited honesty. He ran a hand through his hair. There's something about her. I can't explain it. If it's the mate bond, you'll feel it in your bones. He shook his head. I'm not sure I deserve that kind of grace. Raven's hand gripped his forearm. You deserve every good thing fate brings. He met her gaze, gratitude shining. Thank you. Throughout the afternoon, Raven and Lucian stole moments with their daughters, feeding, singing, laughing at small gurgles. Kieran arrived with Ella, who cradled a bundle of tiny rabbit toys. They need friends, she explained. Raven laid Liana against Ella's collarbone. The infant gripped a rabbit ear, making Ella beam. Kieran's gaze lingered on Ella, tenderness overflowing. Raven nudged Lucian. Watch. Kieran took Ella's free hand, drawing her aside. Raven, out of courtesy, shifted her attention to the twins, but she couldn't help catching the soft gasp when Kieran learned the news. He swept Ella into his arms, spinning her amid squeals of surprise. Tears glistened on his cheeks. You've made me the luckiest alpha alive. Ella laughed through tears. And terrified? Of failing you? Always. But I'll spend my life proving I won't. In the library's west alcove, Thalos and Isara shared quiet conversation. Isara traced constellations in an old atlas, while Thalos recited tales of those stars from warrior lore. Their shoulders brushed, neither moved away. A door creaked. Serena entered, searching for a ledger. She froze at the sight of Isara's staff glowing faintly. Thalos rose, offering help, but Serena shook her head, retrieving the book herself. Isara's eyes followed her. Pain lingers around her, Isara whispered when Serena left. Thalos nodded. Darius feels it. Isara's hand covered his. Perhaps he can help heal it. As dusk bled into violet, Raven and Kieran met on the training terrace. Torches blazed. They stood opposite, palms raised. Fire blossomed in Raven's grasp. Wind curled in Kieran's. Together they shaped an orb of flame, wrapped in spiraling air, lifting it skyward until it burst into a shower of ember petals. Sweat shimmered on Raven's brow. She laughed, exhilarated. Stronger each day? Kieran nodded. United, we're unstoppable. Thunder murmured on the horizon despite clear skies. Raven tilted her head, unease pricking. Did you feel that? Kieran's frown mirrored hers. A warning, perhaps. They let the magic fade, choosing not to question the distant rumble, for tonight, joy awaited. The palace gardens glowed with lanterns strung through flowering arches. A long table draped in ivory linen hosted platters of roasted pheasant, glazed root vegetables, and berry tarts. Musicians played lute and flute, melodies drifting on warm air. Raven entered with Lucian, twins tucked in a pram nearby under Ella's loving watch. Guests mingled, Crestfall warriors trading stories with Lycan guards, palace healers laughing with council scribes. Darius lingered near the fountain, scanning for Serena. He spotted her in conversation with Arik and approached slowly. Commander. He inclined his head. May I offer you wine? She studied him, expression unreadable. Very well. He poured a goblet, passing it carefully. Their fingers brushed. Electricity zipped up his arm. Serena flinched, almost imperceptible. Darius withdrew, embarrassed. I mean, no offense, he murmured. Her gaze softened a fraction. It is not you. She lifted the goblet. Thank you. Raven watched from across the lawn, hope blooming. Nearby, Thalos and Isara strolled beneath a trellis. Isara paused at a rose bush, inhaling its scent. Thalos plucked a bloom, tucking it behind her ear. She laughed quietly, cheeks warming. Under a willow, Kieran seated Ella, fussing with cushions. She swatted his hands, teasing. Pregnant, not fragile. He laughed, pressing a kiss to her knuckles. Lucian raised a toast. To new alliances, growing families, and nights of peace, hard won. Glasses clinked. Conversation spiraled into laughter, song, and gentle dance. Darius found Serena again near the dessert table. He summoned courage. Would you walk with me? She hesitated, then nodded. They followed a lantern-lit path to the koi pond. Moonlight fractured on the water. Silence stretched before Darius spoke. Your scars are not invisible. Her fingers tightened over her sleeve. Few notice. I notice because I carry my own. She dared a glance at him. You hide them well. They still ache, he said softly. But they remind me I survived. Serena's breath hitched. Survival is not the same as living. Perhaps we could learn together, he offered, voice low. She studied him, sincerity steady in his eyes. Finally, she nodded. Perhaps. Night deepened. Guests drifted indoors. Raven led Lucian to their chamber, twins already drowsy. She laid them in the crib, tracing tiny brows. Lucian pulled her close, heart hammering. They will change the world, he whispered. With love for their guide, Raven answered. They curled under blankets, Liana's breathing a soft lullaby. Lucian stroked Raven's arm. Today was full of beginnings. And tomorrow will be too. She rested her head on his chest. His heartbeat anchored her. Outside, wind sighed through open windows. Raven felt currents shifting, fate stirring, but warmth cocooned her. Whatever storms brewed, tonight love reigned. Morning sunlight glinted off the long oak table in the strategy hall as maps were unfurled and inkpots uncorked. Lucian stood at the head, shoulders squared, calm though his eyes tracked every gesture with a general's focus. Auric Crestfall sat at his right, the silver hawk sigil bright on his cloak clasp. Kieran, Thalos, and Darius formed the other points of the circle, while Raven observed from a seat just behind Lucian, nursing a cup of ginger tea to ease the remnants of the twins' nighttime restlessness. Serena Vale entered last, carrying a cylindrical case of rolled parchments. She nodded to Lucian and laid the case before him. "Updated patrol schematics, sir," she said, voice low. "Routes we've used along the northern ridges. Minimal blind spots." Lucian unrolled one sheet. Bold ink traced switchback trails and lookout marks every 3 miles. He looked up, respect flickering in his gold eyes. "Impressive. If we integrate sections east of Briar Gorge, we'll seal our weakest flank." Kieran leaned in, tapping the paper. "We can station 2 detachments here and here, rotating every 4th night." Auric stroked his beard. "Crestfall scouts can bolster the Eastern Watch. They know those woods like sinew and bone." Discussion flowed, measured and meticulous. Thalos noted supply depots. Raven suggested medical outposts placed at natural spring sites. Darius contributed calm observations, though his gaze drifted to Serena whenever she spoke. He admired the concise way she named logistical concerns, never wasting a word. When plans were set, Lucian sealed the parchments with crimson wax. "We convene again in 3 days to finalize troop movement. Our united front starts here." He dismissed the group for midday respite. As chairs scraped back, Serena slipped the spare maps into her case. Darius hesitated, then approached. "You draft tactics like a seasoned cartographer," he said quietly. She glanced sideways, wary yet not unkind. "Years of necessity." He gestured to the corridor beyond the hall. "There's a balcony overlooking the western cliffs. Best view in the kingdom. Would you like to breathe open air before luncheon?" Serena studied him, lips pressed. "Open air sounds acceptable." They walked side by side through sunlit passageways where moats danced in high windows. The balcony jutted from the castle's spine, wind carrying the scent of pine and distant river spray. Far below, cliffs fell in sheer gray slabs to a valley patched with golden grass. Serena stepped to the edge, gauntlet resting on stone. "Striking. Reminds me life continues beyond walls," Darius said. She tipped her face to the breeze. "Walls once saved me. Now they feel suffocating." He folded his arms loosely. "I've lived behind armor, steel and silence, thinking it kept others safe from me. Perhaps I feared what I might feel." Wind tugged a strand of her hair free. She didn't move to tame it. "Feeling invites pain. Also connection," he countered, voice quiet. "When Cedric's forces breached our gates, I feared dying without ever having shared more than orders." He drew a breath. "Meeting you reminded me life is more than battles won." Serena's gaze softened, sea storm eyes luminous. "I lost my trust to men who traded promises for cruelty. I rebuilt it with my sword." She turned fully to him. "I don't know that it can be given again." "Then let it be earned," Darius replied. "One conversation, one spar, one sunrise at a time, no demands." She considered him for several heartbeats, then extended a gloved hand. "We start with a spar, tonight after the evening meal." He clasped her wrist in warrior greeting. "Tonight." Across the castle, Raven returned to her chambers to find Ella perched on a window seat, hands folded protectively at her midriff. Liana snoozed in her lap, a tiny fist buried in Ella's tunic. Leora dozed in the bassinet, dreaming soft coos. "Borrowing my daughter?" Raven teased. "Liana demanded story time," Ella said, smoothing the infant's tuft of hair. "Kieran is still glowing. I think he'll pace holes into the training yard." A warm laugh escaped Raven. She sat beside Ella. "How are you truly?" "Nervous, happy, hungry every hour." Ella's cheeks pinked. "I worry about leading while carrying a child." "You'll do both," Raven said. "Strength isn't the absence of fear, it's walking forward despite it. If threats rise, you have us at your side." Ella exhaled, shoulders easing. "And you? Mother of twins, queen of a kingdom, Does peace feel fleeting? Raven's gaze shifted to Leora's tiny chest rising evenly. Yes, but peace built on love has roots, hard to uproot, even by storms. Liana stirred, mouth opening in a wide yawn. Raven gathered her, pressing a kiss to her forehead that smelled faintly of warm milk. Ella brushed tears away, overwhelmed. Look at us, she whispered. Warriors turned mothers. Raven smiled. Still warriors. The afternoon sun hinted at rain, painting clouds silver-edged. In a secluded courtyard, Thalos guided Isara through slow blade forms, wooden practice swords moving in circular arcs. Her robes flowed, and each pivot loosened tension from her shoulders. You move like river water, Thalos murmured. Isara's laughter chimed. You taught me. She caught his wrist, redirecting his strike. He allowed it, marveling at the life in her eyes. After a final parry, they lowered the swords. Tired? He asked. Peaceful, she answered. She glanced at roses climbing the wall. I walked years believing my journey done. Now I find new chapters. He sheathed the wooden sword. May I be written into them? Her hand lifted, brushing his cheek. You already are. They stood watching petals drift on the breeze, content in the hush between heartbeats. Evening settled in amber layers. Kitchens buzzed, scents of thyme and roasting lamb wafting through halls. In the nursery, Lucian rocked Leora while humming an old marching tune made gentle by quiet tempo. Raven approached, touching his shoulder. She's utterly spellbound, she said. So am I. He laid Leora down, adjusting her blanket. Downstairs, tables were set beneath arching boughs threaded with glowstones. Crestfall warriors mingled with palace guards, comparing sword weights and forging camaraderie with tankards of elder ale. Musicians tuned flutes, the first lilting notes floating across trimmed hedges. Raven entered with Lucian, Liana asleep on Lucian's chest, Leora cradled against Raven. Guests bowed, though Raven waved them at ease. Ella arrived on Kieran's arm, her smile radiant, palm resting over her stomach. Thalos escorted Isara, and murmurs of approval followed their easy grace. At a smaller side table, Darius sat polishing the leather wrap of his sword hilt. His eyes lifted when Serena strode in clad in deep blue dress uniform, braids adorned with silver pins shaped like hawk feathers. She dipped her head to Arik, then scanned for Darius. When their eyes met, a silent understanding passed. Raven noticed and nudged Lucian. Hope takes many shapes. Dinner unfolded with laughter. Kieran toasted Ella, voice rough as he promised to be both alpha and devoted mate. Lucian toasted alliances, praising Crestfall's loyalty. Thalos offered a short blessing for the unborn child, and for bonds newly forged. Even Serena spoke briefly, acknowledging the resilience she witnessed here, a tribute that drew respectful applause. When plates were cleared and stars brightened overhead, Serena rose from her seat, nodding to Darius. He followed her to the practice green. Torches cast flickering halos around their forms as they drew wooden practice blades. A handful of onlookers paused at a distance, but silence reigned. Darius saluted. Serena mirrored. They circled, testing footwork. Darius struck first, an angled cut she deflected smoothly, riposte darting for his ribs. He stepped aside, feeling the air of her strike brush cloth. Their blades clacked, sparks of effort flying. As they moved, Darius noticed small flinches near her right shoulder, a hidden injury perhaps. He altered tempo, respecting boundaries, yet pushing enough to show belief in her strength. Serena's eyes narrowed with concentration. No sign of the earlier chill, only the disciplined heat of battle. Minutes stretched. Breaths became mist. Finally, Serena disengaged with a whirl, blade poised at his throat. He froze, heart hammering, then slowly lowered his own weapon. Well fought, she said, voice husky with exertion. You held back, he replied, and her brow lifted. So did you. They lowered blades simultaneously. Darius exhaled. Tea in the training hall? A flicker of a smile. Tea. Later, Raven rocked on a garden swing while Lucian pushed gently, their daughters nestled in a nearby wicker bassinet. Fireflies drifted, tiny lanterns blinking. Raven's robe shimmered in starlight, fabric whispering with each sway. Lucian leaned to kiss her shoulder. Arik departs in 2 days. He offers double patrol units along the valley. Peace feels sturdier already, she said, then grew thoughtful. Yet Kieran and I sensed a strangeness during training, a rumble in clear skies. Lucian frowned. A premonition? Perhaps, or the land shifting beneath fresh alliances. He knelt before her, hands encircling her calves. Whatever it is, we stand guard. Together. She brushed his hair back from his brow. Always. They gathered the twins and retreated inside where corridors glowed with low lamps. Passing the training hall, Raven glimpsed Darius and Serena seated at a small table, steam curling from ceramic cups. They spoke quietly, faces open in a way Raven had never seen on either of them. Warmth bloomed in her chest. In their chamber, Lucian laid the twins in their cradle. Raven loosened her braid, watching candlelight dance across the ceiling. Lucian joined her beneath the coverlet, arms wrapping around her from behind. "Tell me something brave," she whispered. "I will love you tomorrow more than today, knowing tomorrow holds dangers unknown." She turned, stroking his cheek. "Then I will meet those dangers at your side, unflinching." He kissed her slowly, tenderness spiraling deeper. Outside the window, wind carried distant thunder again, soft, uncertain. Raven felt its echo but did not flinch. She closed her eyes, cocooned in Lucian's steady heartbeat. Peace breathes, storms gather, hearts interlock. The rhythm of their kingdom quickened with new life and fresh alliances, while far-off shadows rustled restlessly. But tonight the queen slept, ringed by love and guarded by flames that would never dim. The castle sighed into the small hours, corridors settling after the day's celebrations. In her private solar, Raven woke with a start, a whisper of restless energy prickling her skin. Lucian still slept beside her, one broad hand resting protectively over her waist even in dreams. She eased away without waking him and slipped into a robe, padding through shafts of moonlight until she reached the balcony that overlooked the eastern forest. Silver clouds drifted past a nearly full moon. Wind carried the scent of wet bark and something sharper, like flint, struck in the dark. Raven placed her palms on the chilled railing, breathing through the unease. A quiet footstep sounded behind her. Isara emerged from the shadows beneath an arch, wrapped in a soft gray shawl. The shaman's eyes reflected starlight, calm, but alert. "I felt the same stirring," Isara murmured. "Thunder in a cloudless sky," Raven said, shivering though the night was mild. "Old currents shift when new bonds are forged. Peace unsettles forces that thrive on unrest." Isara joined her at the balustrade. But hearts entwined are stronger magic than any storm. Raven studied the elder woman's profile, tracing lines of wisdom and softness that had returned since she found love with Thalos. "Thank you for guiding us." "I merely read the wind. You and Lucian, Kieran and Ella, even Darius and Serena. You choose how to steer the sails." At the mention of the new pair, Raven smiled. He smiles more around her, though he does not know it. "Pain recognizes pain," Isara said gently. "Healing begins there." They watched silent lightning flick across faraway clouds. No thunder followed, only a faint pulse like a heartbeat in the sky. Raven's own heart answered, steady. "I should return to my daughters before they notice I'm gone," she said. Isara brushed her fingertips across Raven's brow in blessing. "Rest, Lycan Queen. Dawn will demand much of you, but it will greet you with promise." Raven slipped back through the silent halls. At the nursery door she paused, hearing hushed voices within. She cracked the door to find Kieran kneeling beside the cradle, Ella leaning over his shoulder. Liana stirred, fascinated by the way Kieran's fingers traced glowing whirls of air that made her giggle soundlessly. Leora slept unfazed on her back, arms splayed in gentle surrender. "You two should sleep," Raven whispered. Kieran grinned sheepishly. "We tried. Little one pulled us out of bed without a cry." Ella rested a hand on her belly. "Practicing." Her gaze grew tender. "They will protect each other, these three." Raven hugged them both, then ushered them toward their wing with a mock glare. "Rest, parents-to-be." Alone with her children, Raven lifted Lyanna, pressing a kiss to the downy crown. "Trouble," she murmured lovingly. When Lyanna settled, Raven laid her back and stroked Leora's cheek. Their breaths synced, tiny chests rising in tandem. Raven felt the hush settle deeper in her bones. Across the castle, Darius stood in a torchlit corridor outside the guest wing. Serena lingered at her doorway, hesitant. Moments earlier, they had talked for another hour. Tea forgotten, words flowing easier than either expected. Now there was quiet. "I find myself unafraid when you listen," Serena admitted, gripping the door frame. His chest tightened. "And I find my own silence gentler when you speak." He bent, brushing his lips to the back of her knuckles. A pledge without demand. Serena's eyes widened, but she did not pull away. Instead, she laid her free hand lightly over his heart, feeling its stuttering rhythm. They parted with a promise to meet at first light for a dawn patrol of the ramparts, together. Thalos watched their exchange from farther down the hallway. A smile tugged his scarred mouth. He turned back to Izara's chamber where the shaman waited, lamp glowing warm. They would read the old lullaby scroll together, weaving a tune that might soothe the restless storm outside. In the royal bedchamber, Raven slid beside Lucian again. He roused, instinctively drawing her close. "All well?" he asked, voice hoarse with sleep. "All well," she murmured, settling against him. Ella and Kieran were practicing parenthood. Darius and Serena were practicing courage. The world feels balanced in this moment. Lucian kissed the curve of her shoulder. "Balanced because you hold its center." She laughed quietly. "We hold it, love. Tomorrow Arik departs. The watch must tighten. The twins will demand new skills. Ella will need calm. Darius will need patience. Thalos and Izara will show us all how winter flowers bloom in spring." Lucian's fingers traced idle patterns on her arm. "We're building more than defenses. We're building community." Outside, that distant thunder rolled again. No threat yet, only reminder that calm skies could shift. Raven closed her eyes, imprinting Lucian's heartbeat, Lyanna's fluttering breaths, Leora's sighs, trusting that love forged in fire could weather any storm to come. With dawn still hours away, the castle rested in a rare harmony, sentries at their posts exchanging quiet confidences, new allies dreaming under foreign roofs, fragile hearts taking first steps toward healing. And at the kingdom's heart, the Lycan Queen slept encircled by the arms of her king, the echo of prophecy humming low and steady, a lullaby promising trials, but promising triumph more. Moonlight slipped through gauzy curtains, painting silver ribbons across the chamber floor. The twins slept on, lulled by the gentle tide of their parents' voices and the easy rhythm of night. Raven eased from Lucian's embrace, to be certain Lyanna and Leora were tucked in safely. One soft sigh, one tiny fist curling, then both still. Satisfied, she turned back toward the bed. Lucian had propped himself against the headboard, golden hair tousled, the linen sheet resting low on his waist. His gaze followed the sway of her robe as she crossed the room, and something warm and electric flickered between them as immediate as breath. The day's worries, the distant thunder, even prophecy itself, all retreated in that hush. Raven untied her sash. The garment slid from her shoulders and pooled at her feet, leaving moonlight to linger on skin that still bore faint traces of healed battle scars and love-earned softness. Lucian's breath caught. He reached out a hand, palm up, the simple gesture asking, "May I?" She slipped her fingers into his, and he drew her onto the mattress, cradling her against his chest, as though the whole kingdom might shatter if he let go too quickly. He traced slow circles at the base of her neck, memorizing the silken texture under his calloused thumb. She answered with a kiss to the hollow of his throat, tasting the warm salt of his skin. The kiss lingered, deepening in a languid glide of lips, the room echoing only with the hum of their mingled breaths and the faint pulse of the hearth's dying embers. Lucian's hands roamed her back, reverent rather than hurried, mapping each familiar contour as if relearning a favorite path. Raven arched into the touch, exhaling a soft note of pleasure. Their legs tangled beneath the sheet, a private tangle of heat and velvet darkness. She brushed her lips along the scar over his ribs, proof of battles fought and survived together, then whispered, "I love every line of this story." "Every line belongs to you," he murmured, voice low, as he rolled her gently beneath him. The cool linen contrasted the warmth of his body. She shivered, and he smiled against her shoulder, drawing the sheet higher to cocoon them both. Their mouths met again and time surrendered, each kiss unspooled slowly into the next. Forehead, cheek, collarbone, gentle fire smoldering just beneath the surface. The pace belonged to them alone, unhurried, patient, savoring. Lucian's hands threaded through Raven's hair, tilting her face so he could watch the glow in her green eyes. The trust he found there stirred something fierce and tender all at once. Raven brushed her fingertips over his jaw, down his throat, feeling the flutter of pulse quicken beneath her touch. She breathed his name, and he answered in kind, the sound half vow, half prayer. Their connection, so often tempered by war and duty, now melted into pure, quiet need. Clothes slipped away, the sheet fell. Skin met skin in a hush of heat and sensation, every brush of fingertips a spark, every sigh a promise. Lucian kissed the hollow just above Raven's heart, lingering until her breath stuttered. She drew him up and sealed her mouth to his in reply. The world outside might tremble, but here, in the hush between candle flickers, they built an anchor stronger than any storm. Their bodies found a familiar rhythm, one they had danced before yet rediscovered anew each time. Lucian moved with measured restraint, watching her face for every shift of emotion. She rose to meet him, guiding with gentle pressure, a silent language spoken only in shared breaths and starlit glances. Together they climbed, slow and steady, savoring the cascade of warmth that unfurled through every nerve. When the crest finally swept over them, it was not a shattering wave, but something deeper, a blooming, soul-stretching exhale that seemed to dissolve the very edges of the world. Raven pressed her forehead to Lucian's, hearts pounding in sync. He cradled her cheek, words lost in the rush of tenderness that pulsed between them. Gradually their breathing softened. Lucian rolled to his side, gathering Raven against him, the sheet draped loosely over entwined limbs. Moonlight touched her shoulder. He brushed a kiss there, then another at the corner of her smile. "Still worried about tomorrow?" he whispered. "Not in this moment," she answered, fingertips smoothing over the curve of his shoulder. "Then let's stay here just like this until dawn reminds us who we are." "Parents, rulers, warriors," she murmured, but also simply Raven and Lucian, hearts entwined. He tightened his embrace. Beyond the windows, the sky began its subtle shift, stars paling toward gray. In the crib, Liana stirred. Leora answered with a sigh, but both settled again. As night yielded to earliest dawn, Raven closed her eyes, lulled by the steady cadence of Lucian's heartbeat and the soft promise of new beginnings. Whatever challenges waited beyond the horizon, whatever distant thunder grew nearer, would find them ready. Wrapped in love, anchored by family, armed with unity, they slept, dreamless and certain of the light rising beyond the dark.